It was a bit exasperating.
David's attention to detail even carried through to the colour of costumes. For example, the pink dress Geraldine wears when she arrives at Moscow station.
That was a slight argument I had with the director at the time, because I designed that same costume in pale grey and with a black fur hat, because I thought she would be so sophisticated she'd want to go for the utterly grown-up thing and the rather tight skirt that she could hardly run in, which was very in Paris in those days.
So we went back, and Phyllis Dalton then had a white one made. And it was beautiful, a big white hat and a white, same costume though. And we went out, we said, he has to like this, because I looked as fresh as a snowflake. And he looked at it, and he said, no, it's not. He said, smile. He said, all that white, her teeth look yellow.
David, he didn't say he didn't like it, but he was quite adamant that he wanted a pale colour.
David Lean said pink, and she said, pink? And he said, yes, try pink. And so this gorgeous pink and grey, very soft grey outfit, and it's the most beautiful outfit in the whole film.
Afterwards I realised how absolutely right he was. I was being too practical. I said, well, she can't come a long train journey all the way from Paris in pale pink, she'll be filthy, you know. But he was right, he usually was.
Lean was just as insistent on the red gown that Julie Christie wears when she dines with Komorowski, which provoked another costuming crisis.
You're waiting nearly an hour, Victor.
Phyllis comes to me and says, I'm having terrible trouble with this red dress. Julie won't wear it. She hates red, she doesn't want to wear it, she hates it. Can you help? So I go off to try and find, I'm certain she's hiding from me, I can't find her. We're getting quite close to the shooting time. Eventually I find Julie, and I say, Julie, what's the trouble with the red dress? She says, I hate it. I feel uncomfortable in it, I feel awful. I said, Julie, that's the point, isn't it? It's not a dress you would have bought, or Lara would have bought. Komorowski bought that dress for Lara and made her wear it. She doesn't like it. Please play the part in it. She did.
Julie also played her part in the scene where she slapped Komorowski. I mean, that was scripted. What wasn't scripted was what happened next.
And nobody slaps Komorowski. And I didn't know, I slapped her right back, but I was a gentleman. I slapped her with my glove. And everybody went like that, and they left it in, you know, because it was a good moment between the two of them.
On the whole, Zhivago accurately reflects the look of Russia in the first part of the century. Yet it seems one detail was overlooked.
Oh, you noticed the hair? The hair is a bit 60s, isn't it? It's so surprising. In that time, in the 60s, it was inconceivable to have your hair flat or to have it, you just didn't. I mean, it was ugly. Julie Christie, I think more than anyone, has the bangs and this and the sort of loose hair. And I have the beehive.
Because that's another of my pet theories, that however authentic you try to be with a period film, there's always something that gives away the period in which it was made. And it's the women's hair that give it away. And I've thought since then, I'm leaving aside criticism of Julie's hair at the time, but certainly looking at it now, that's exactly what makes it a 60s film. And I'll leave it at that.
After a year of pre-production and almost a year of shooting, there was a furious 8-week stint in the editing room in order to finish the movie in time for Christmas and before the deadline for the 1965 Academy Awards. David, of course, helped edit every frame of the film. And on December 22nd, Zhivago premiered. First reviews were bad. Newsweek said the film had cheap jack sets and pallid photography. Judith Crist called it a spectacular soap opera. The critics' barbs dismayed David to the point where he said he would never shoot another film again.
Oh, it was terrible. The critics were absolutely awful. I mean, I don't think that there was one good review. Some of them were just terrible, and that hurt David Lean so much. They destroyed him completely. And I said, but David, the film, it's a blockbuster. The public is what's important. The public love it. The buggers hated it. I said, but who? What buggers? The critics. He couldn't get over that.
Now, from the most widely acclaimed novel of our generation, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer presents David Lean's film of Boris.
After the first weeks following the film's release, MGM put on a massive publicity blitz and the film took off, grossing more than $200 million worldwide.
The monumental motion picture of our time.
At the Oscars in April 1966, John Box won for the sets, Phyllis for her costumes, Maurice for his music, Freddie Young for his cinematography, and Robert Bolt won for his screenplay. His old friend David Lean was there to accept it for him.
I'm terribly, terribly pleased to be able to accept this for Robert. He had a most fiendishly difficult job, and we wouldn't have got the brass to date but for him. Thank you very much.
That year, the Best Director and Best Picture went to The Sound of Music.
I love it because people come up to me in the street and they say, and they used to come up to me in the street and say, oh, Geraldine Chaplin, Dr. Zhivago, oh, my favorite movie. And now they come up to me and they say, oh, Dr. Zhivago, Geraldine, you're in Dr. Zhivago. That's my mother's favorite movie.
In the Soviet Union, Pasternak is now considered one of the greatest poets of all time. Today, his grave is the site of daily poetry readings. In 1988, some 30 years after it was banned, the novel was finally published in the Soviet Union. In April 1994, the film on which it was based premiered there. Today, 30 years after the film's release, the enduring popularity of Dr. Zhivago is a true testament to the storytelling of Pasternak and Lean.
I think more than anything, I think it's the love story that makes that movie. It was the first movie, and as far as I can tell, the only movie that I've seen where you see a man who gets out of his wife's bed into his mistress's bed, out of his mistress's bed into his wife's, and where you completely understand it. And even the oldies at the time understood it. They weren't shocked. I mean, no one was shocked. You understood this. And that's very, you have to be very clever to do that.
I like being Dr. Zhivago. I wish I were someone like Dr. Zhivago, because I think he was probably the most perfect person that I have ever heard about. I can't see any defects in him. He was perfect, kind and patient. And strangely enough, my secretary and my housekeeper told me that when I was doing this film, I was much more gentle than I am usually in my normal life. So some of it rubbed out on me, I hope.
It's human beings, and that is the strength of Pasternak's book and David's direction. He was trying to really get at the essence of human beings. Again, under very strange circumstances, a revolution. How do you behave? Sadly, it's going on now in the world too. There must be Zhivago stories going on in Sarajevo and various other parts of the world. And that is Pasternak again writing it and making us aware of it. And that's why people read his book, and that's why the film was made.